So as Kira did mention, my name is Carly Nyman. I work alongside Kira in Cooperative Education and Career Action as a career advisor, where pretty much what I do every day is support students in any initiatives that are within the work search umbrella. So preparing to find work and all of the components that are involved with that. So resumes, interviews, work search strategies, networking, all of those things. And then the other half of me spends a lot of my time working on co-op process. So everything to do with preparing students for obtaining, looking for their very first co-op work term. So that is why I'm here talking to you guys today. So our agenda is outlined as follows. So we're going to start with first looking at work search both inside and outside of Canada. And as I understand, there'll be both nationals, so Canadian citizens, as well as many international students in the room today. So we're going to look at some resources that have been expertly developed over time that exist to help you in this process. So through the Career Center as well as through Co-op, these things exist for you to be able to leverage in order to find successfully work, either if you're looking inside or outside of Canada. Then we're going to move on to some tips on how to use Waterloo Works. So for those of you who don't know this, Waterloo Works is the university-wide job board. So it is available to every student at the University of Waterloo, and not only those that are within a CECA-supported co-op program. So everyone can use it, and it also extends even to our alumni population, as well as graduating students as well, and you guys, graduate students. And then we're going to finish just with a little bit of information about what is co-op at Waterloo. So these things, some of them will be very specific to those of you who are in a CECA or Cooperative Education and Career Action supported co-op program. So computational math, anyone in the room here? Okay. But there are some things in there that we want you guys, is anyone in CS, computer science? Okay, expected a large number of you from there. So your program is not specifically supported by Co-op and Career Action, but you do have a co-op option as part of your degree. And a lot of the information that we're going to be talking about in there, such as business etiquette, things like that, are really important to you guys as well. So that's where we're heading today. So to start, I'm going to start by sharing some resources for looking for work inside of Canada. And these are things, like I mentioned, have been well refined and honed over the years to provide the most effective support for someone who is undergoing the work search process, work search strategies for inside of Canada. So our Career Hub is our online resource, and our meaning the Center for Career Action. So we've developed this specifically as a tool for individuals to go on and use to find information, strategies, resources on how to effectively look for and obtain work inside of Canada. We also see CECA, the University of Waterloo, in partnership with Guelph, Laurier, and Conestoga College, arrange a career and job fair 2 times a year. Has anyone been to one of these at Rim Park? Yeah? Good time? Yeah, it's a great opportunity for those of you who are looking for work. Like I said, it is limited to those from the partner institutions. And you can find more information at the partnersforemployment.ca website. The job fair is coming up in February, so you'll find the date, the time on that website, as well as a really detailed listing of employers that are attending, jobs that they will be recruiting for, floor plans. There is a free bus ride from Ring Road that will take you to Rim Park and back. So lots of good opportunities at the Career and Job Fair. Waterloo Works, of course, I mentioned it is a job board that is available to all University of Waterloo students. You can use that to look for work. Next, at the Center for Career Action, you've met Kira by now, and she's one of 2 of our graduate student career advisors. So she works specifically with graduate students to help you with any of these topics you see there, and likely she can answer questions you have about them and more. So you can book a one-on-one appointment with Kira or our other graduate advisor, whose name is Erica, for any of these topics. And those appointments are all an hour. And you can book them online through our website, which is listed there in the yellow. So if you want a one-on-one appointment with one of our advisors to talk about work search or anything to do with that, the resume, CV, interviews, cover letter, you can book the appointment through our website. And lastly, if you prefer a bit more of a group or interactive type session, we offer a large number of workshops. So these you can find the full listing of our workshops through our website there. There's a link right on the left-hand side when you get to our homepage that says appointment/workshops. So that's where you're going to go to either book the appointment or register to attend one of our workshops. And we do have a whole host of workshops that are targeted specifically to the needs of our graduate students that are put on by our graduate team. So you can check those out by clicking off the graduate student tab when you get to our workshops calendar. So you'll see them organized there by month and by term. Okay, this is a screenshot of what our Career Hub looks like. So once you go on there, you're going to see, before you click into this page, you're going to see a few options. And then you're going to be clicking the purple magnifying glass icon there for Find Work. And that's where you're going to find the resources that I mentioned earlier for looking for work inside of Canada. Okay, so there's everything in there from videos, there's networking information, there's different strategies, how to develop your networking skills, how to approach employers, all of those things that are involved in the work search process. There are also sections under the Apply and Interview. That's where you're going to find interview, resume, cover letter, and everything attached to the actual application piece. But the Find Work, there's a lot of great information in there that's laid out in an organized way to help you sort of navigate through the work search process. Okay, so for international students looking for work inside Canada, there is a fantastic resource that exists on campus. That is our International Students Office that is located in the Student Success Office. Has anyone utilized their services before? Oh, okay. Anyway, so they're in SCH 217, and I will show you in the next slide a couple of resources that they have, but some things to keep in mind when it comes to international students looking for work inside Canada. You must have a valid study permit with proper authorization to work in Canada. And this means that further from that, your co-op work permit is not a valid work permit for non-co-op work. So it's valid for you to take on co-op work that is being counted towards specific credit as part of your program. Non-co-op work would be anything outside of that, including part-time, okay? So remember, study permit must have work authorization attached to it. And there are terms and conditions specific to work off campus as well as on campus types of work. And these things really run case by case depending on individual situations. So we really recommend, if you have questions about this at all, that you visit the Student Success Office. Mentioned it's in SCH 217. Does everyone know South Campus Hall, bookstore, Tim Hortons? Yeah, good. So they're in there up on the second floor. So they have one-on-one individual student advising hours as well as application assistance workshops. So the workshops are held every week over the lunch hours, 12 to 1. They take place also in South Campus Hall. You do have to sign up to attend, and you'll see there the listing of the different topics that are covered depending on the day of the week. So if you need a replacement or amendment of particular documentation, Mondays, Tuesdays would be the co-op work permit, and so on. So this information you can find verbatim on their website as well. And if you have any questions specific to immigration type inquiries, the email address is there. That's the best person to get in, or persons to get in contact with. And then any other types of inquiries, or if you're not sure if it's immigration related, you can contact isc@uwaterloo.ca. Okay, and you've likely taken a look at the student advisor hours by now, but they run Monday to Friday, 12 to 3:30, same place, and then they do have booked appointments. So typically how they work is if you have a quick question, or you're not sure maybe what type of appointment is the best fit for you, it's good to check out the drop-ins, but of course you can also book the full-length appointment if you know you're going to need a little bit more time. Okay. So when it comes to the co-op work permit for working in Canada, some things you want to keep in mind as well. And again, I will stress that these things can vary between student to student, even if you're from the same country, even if you're looking for work in the same country, things can vary. So some things that are consistent are that you must have a valid co-op work permit to undertake a work term in Canada, right? So remember, the co-op work permit is on top of study permit, and it will allow you to take a work term within Canada, okay? There are restrictions for the off-campus and on-campus, paid or volunteer as well, but you can't work in those capacities on a co-op work permit, okay, if it's not counted toward a co-op credit. Okay? Your study permit is not valid work permit, so some of these things are the same as we saw on the other slide. We do ask for co-op specific students that are supported under the CECA co-op program. We will ask for a copy of your work permit to keep on file. And if you haven't applied for it, we suggest applying very early. It can vary in how long it takes student to student. So think about this if you haven't already. For questions, the absolute experts on these topics, you'll find for the Faculty of Math, there's a dedicated email address that I would suggest if you have questions, because this is what this team does day in and day out. They can help you with any questions or concerns you have about co-op and work permit. Okay? We put the other faculties there just in case. So if you have a friend who's asking, you can give them the other email address there at the bottom. Okay? So resources for looking for work outside of Canada. So you'll see some overlap in some of the things. We do have a section in Career Hub dedicated to the work search outside of Canada. So if you're looking for co-op positions outside of Canada, of course, you can use our Career Hub. I'll show you a screenshot of where you can find that information in a moment. My World Abroad is next on there, and this is a fantastic resource that covers everything from the beginning stages from thinking about having an international work experience right on up to actually succeeding in that job, reflecting on your experiences, and so on. So it's a very rich resource that the Career Center actually pays for a subscription. So if you go onto the site, myworldabroad.com, you can register by selecting the school, so University of Waterloo, and then it's going to ask you to create some login credentials, I believe, and you'll have access to that site. There are testimonials from students on there that went abroad. There are examples of resumes that have been successful, students have been successful using in obtaining work abroad. And there's lots of different job boards on there, resources, learning about culture shock and everything that's involved with taking an international or a work experience outside of Canada. So that's a great one. Of course, also we have an appointment. So same thing as I mentioned in the previous slide about our appointments, you can book a work search outside of Canada appointment. So this one, you would talk about strategies and resources for looking for and obtaining work outside of Canada, some of the different nuances behind looking at international positions, and so on. So if you'd like to talk one-on-one with an advisor about this, you can book the appointment. We also have lots of workshops on this topic as well. So of course, applying and interviewing for international opportunities, international co-op work terms. So there are quite a number of workshops, not as many as our regular offering, but we have, and we're continuing to grow our international specific workshop offerings. So for co-op, and this work term support person will make more sense in a minute when I get into the co-op side of things. But for those of you in co-op programs, on your Waterloo Works account, and I said it would make more sense because I'm going to show you exactly where you can find who this person is. For US positions, you can contact your work term support that you're going to see, who you're going to see named in your Waterloo Works account for questions or advice, information on looking for jobs in the USA. For outside the USA, you can contact that same person, name is in Waterloo Works, or you can email our international team at the email address listed at the bottom there. So any co-op work terms outside of the US is that email address or your work term support. And for US, you can contact your work term support. Okay? So again, in our Career Hub, this is where you're going to find all of the resources on looking for work outside of Canada. I suggest you put some time aside if this is high on your priority list to look for work outside of Canada, to spend working with the Career Hub content. It was developed and updated quite recently, focused specifically, of course, on looking for work outside and providing all of those different pieces that you'll need to know in being successful in finding and obtaining work outside of the country. Okay, and again, that's in our Career Hub site. For Co-op, we have a fantastic website. So it's listed there. It's a little bit longer than the others, but cooperative education/working-abroad. You'll find it through the Co-op website otherwise. So you can go on there for information from, finding an international job, arranging your own international job if you've found one outside of Waterloo Works, meaning maybe on your own that you didn't see posted there. It covers legal authorizations, health coverage, everything you need to know about taking a work term, a co-op work term, outside of Canada. Okay, so that website is fantastic for that. It also covers some different opportunities that we've had either posted in the past or partnerships that the university has with different organizations and academic institutions as well. So you can browse through those things. Okay, Waterloo Works. So I'm going to start first by going over how someone who is not in a CUCA-supported co-op program would look through Waterloo Works. And this, like I mentioned, is open to anyone. So when you go into Waterloo Works, there's the URL. You're going to log in through the Students, Alumni, Staff button. And it will ask for your Quest username and password. So you're going to have to log in. Quickly, before we get any further, I'd like to just mention technical support. So if you have any questions, issues, concerns technically with Waterloo Works, we have an easy email address, waterlooworks@uwaterloo.ca, or you can call us at the number listed there. So these are technical related issues, and I'm going to show you in a moment how you can access support for co-op related, job related, Waterloo Works related issues that are not technical in nature. Okay, so once you've logged in, you're going to see something that looks, hopefully, exactly like this. On the left-hand side, and remembering this, we're going to start with how anyone can access Waterloo Works. You're going to see the option to select Hire Waterloo. You want to click there. And then next, you're going to see a drop-down that's going to let you select what types of positions you're looking for. For those of you who are in computer science, our employers who want to post jobs specifically to you will be advised to post via our other job board. So that's where I recommend you're looking for work that's being posted there. Our alumni job board is for just that. It's usually jobs where individuals are looking for more long-term work experiences. So focus into the other, and graduating jobs are targeted toward our graduating students, so those who are in the process of graduating and will be available for work in the near future. So other jobs. Once you're in there, alumni and other jobs, you're going to see, sorry this is a little bit small, but you're going to see a few search options. So of course, you can type in keywords, you can look by your location preference in the box that is to the right of keyword. You can also look in that little option just below search is the advanced search function, where you can include additional parameters of how you want to define the search that you're looking for, so by program, things like that. You have some options to manage your searches, so the quick search functionality on there will show you what jobs you've applied to. You can also add jobs to a short list, so if you're going through and you don't have time to submit your application, but you want to remember that you want to apply for that job, you can add it onto your short list. What I think is really handy, or is handy about Waterloo Works is that it will tell you when you've got application deadlines coming up so that you don't miss them. So in those last two boxes there, you'll see your upcoming deadlines. Based on the advanced search or your search functions together, you can also save your searches. So if you want to be looking with different parameters, or you've got a few different combinations that you want to use, you can save those searches so that you don't have to keep putting them in every time. And that's where you'll see your saved searches list to the right there. And the last thing I'll point out is the list management options. So in here, you'll have a few options to manage that saved search list, as well as email notifications, things like that. So that's where you'll go to change those types of preferences. All right. So I'm going to switch now into a few pointers that it's good to keep in mind about co-op at Waterloo specifically. And for those of you looking at co-op type positions, or those that aren't particularly supported through co-op and career. These things are all really important to keep in mind in general. So first of all, Co-op at Waterloo, integrated employment. So what this means is that your employment is integrated within your studies. So you're rotating, and I think typically you would have 1 or 2 academic terms, I believe, before your first work term, and then you would come back for another work term. So the idea is that what you're learning in the classroom, you're applying out in industry, and you're bringing what you've learned out on your work terms back into the classroom. So it's integrated into your academics. Of course, it goes without saying that co-op is a workplace test drive. So it's an ability, or an opportunity rather, for you to test out a workplace. See if you like it, see if it's a good fit for you, and ideally, you can decide, whether it's a good fit. It's something you want to continue doing career-wise down the line. So it's a way, typically low-risk way to discover different opportunities and to see if workplaces are a good fit for you. The co-op program, as you may have heard in coming to Waterloo, is a competitive system. So students compete for jobs against other students. And what I like to mention, because a lot of times we forget, is that our employers are also competing amongst each other for students. So it's all around, on both sides of the coin. But it's important to keep in mind that it's not a placement program, co-op. You are competing for jobs through strong applications, strong interviews with other students that are also looking for co-op opportunities. Okay. Co-op, of course, builds your personal profile. So not only are you making connections out on the work term, you may even find yourself on a work term with a fellow peer that is studying the same program as you. It helps you grow your work experience as well as your professional network. And like I mentioned with the workplace test drive, it can give you an opportunity to network toward future career opportunities. And lastly, in co-op, it's deadline driven. So we've got, because we are such a large program and we have a very high number of students that are going through looking for work at any given time, we are deadline driven, and we cannot always be flexible with our deadlines, or many times cannot be flexible with deadlines. So the big one there is job postings. So if you're missing a job posting, we can't change that for you among 6,000 or 7,000 other students that are looking for work at the same time. So keep the deadlines in mind. I know for those of you, I think work term would be in the spring for co-op, yes. So you've got a bit of time. There is a very handy, important dates calendar that you can find. You can Google that, or you can find it on the co-op website. That will keep you on track. But however you like to organize and manage your time, it's really important that you keep up to date with those things, because we do have some important deadlines within the co-op process. Okay. So really quickly, I just wanted to run down a few expectations. So co-op is really a relationship between three major parties. So we've got our department, co-op and career, we've got employers, and we've got the job seekers, the students that are looking for work. So we're going to go through some expectations and what's expected from each of those parties. So of course, co-op advertises opportunities. So we do that by posting them on Waterloo Works. We spend a lot of time developing and nurturing employer relationships. So we want employers to come back and continue to hire our students. So that's a really big part of being successful in that, is making sure that the relationships are strong. We also help to manage the employment process. So everything from posting the jobs, managing the interview process, as well as the ranking system, which I won't go into detail today, but as you approach, those of you who will be going through the Waterloo Works co-op system, as you approach that, you're going to get more information about that. And your Waterloo Works account, or your dashboard as we call it, will provide you with important reminders of those things. We also host employer information sessions. I talked about workshops and appointments. So employer information sessions, has anyone been to and or heard of these? Yes? Okay. That's great. So these, for those of you who aren't familiar, so they are information sessions that are held usually in the Tatham Center. They are sessions where employers will come in to tell you about their organization, as well as the jobs or opportunities that they have available. Usually there's some networking time at the end. So if you want to check these out, you can go onto the Co-op website or to the Center for Career Action website, and the calendar is there. These info sessions, typically when you see on the calendar the booking, they're going to tell you what type of individual that they're looking to network with, that they're looking to come out to those sessions. But we would always argue, if you have a real interest in that company or maybe related types of positions with that employer, it can't hurt, especially if the session is open, meaning that some are closed and by invite only or closed to certain programs, and you'll see that. But for those info sessions that are open, we would encourage you to attend. You can flex your networking muscles and potentially talk to an employer about a different opportunity. So don't be overly intimidated by if you're not seeing your exact program on there. Many employers are happy to talk about different opportunities with people that are interested in their organization. And lastly, so I mentioned this person, your WTS, your work term support. This is the person that will be there to support you both before and during your work term. So before your work term, you will be supported by a team of 7 career advisors. So we exist out of the Center for Career Action, and there's a team of us that work with all students that are going off onto their first work term, including graduate students. And then when you find your first work term and while you're out on that work term, that person or that situation will change so that you have one individual that's there to support you during that work term and on your academic term when you come back. So your work term support or student advisor on your work term is based largely geographically. So if you're working in the Toronto area or out in the capital region in Ottawa, you're going to have an advisor that's local to that city or that area. So they have good knowledge about different resources and things that are available to students if you have any questions. As well, they're there for support. If you're having troubles on the work term, anything like that, please get in touch with your student advisor. And of course, like I mentioned, up to that point, you will have access, and I'll show you how you can get in touch with us in a few slides, but you'll have access to a team of career advisors before that. Okay. So next is what you can expect from employers. Of course, so we have some expectations for employers as well. We want them to provide safe, inclusive, and challenging work environments. And we do, as part of our relationship building, try to make sure that these things that we expect from them are met. We expect, as part of the co-op program, for effective and accessible supervision. So for a co-op job to count as a co-op job or co-op credit, we do expect that you will have access to a supervisor while you're on your work term. And they will, even jumping to the last point there, provide you performance feedback. So as part of the co-op requirements, or an employer rather, will have to fill out a performance evaluation for you at the end of the work term, and that's what we will use to count the co-op credit. So that's specifically for those going through with CECA, Waterloo Works Co-op. For those of you who are not, this can depend, and you want to make sure you're communicating with your department to make sure whether or not there's an evaluation component that's required. Okay, and competitive remuneration, or the fancy word for money, compensation, okay? Lastly, we have some expectations from you, and a lot of these apply right to all of you, or not only to those going through the Waterloo Works Co-op system, but it's important to participate professionally, enthusiastically, and lastly, to commit to the employment process. So employers, put a lot of work into coming up with their job descriptions, posting jobs, interviewing, going through all of those processes. So it's important that as job seekers, as you're going through, that you are committing to the process and you're doing it respectfully and professionally. So this means, honoring commitments. One of the big ones is when you're entering into co-op at Waterloo, we expect you through our ranking and match system to honor a match. So that means you can't be going back on a match that you've had through the system. So that's a big one, especially because we've lost employers this way before. So they put a lot of work into it. It's important you act professionally throughout. Okay, applying to a wide variety of jobs, locations. This one, depending on individual circumstances and what you're looking for work-wise, location-wise, this is one of the big pieces we see with students finding success or having success in finding work. So those that really narrowly limit the type of work they want to do and the location that they want to work, it tends to be a little bit more difficult for those individuals to find work. So the more flexible you can be, the better. Of course, we talked about following dates and deadlines. It's important to keep on top of those. Academic and workplace integrity. So this is a big one. So some of the most obvious ones when it comes to both workplace and academic integrity as it relates to the co-op job search is being honest on your resume, not lying in an interview. So those are things that we're talking about when it comes to integrity. And it's really important not only for your own reputation, but thinking more broadly about you being a representative of Waterloo, of the co-op program at Waterloo, and of the institution, like I said, in general. So the same things, that apply to, your academics, like plagiarism. A lot of those things are transferable into the workplace. So it's honesty and integrity are really important things, and we take them very seriously at the university. So through the co-op program, jumping back and forth here, there is a requirement of a PD course that you will need to complete, as well as a work report at the end of a work term. No, that's no longer. Okay, so let's skip that. Thanks, Jeremy. And lastly, keeping CECA informed and up to date. So we can talk more about that piece after, although it is still listed on the PD website, so we can ignore that and we can talk about this after the fact. And keeping us up to date and informed. So if something changes, if you are looking for work outside, if you've got something that you need to change in terms of co-op, for those of you who are in the system, please just keep us up to date. We want to know, and that help us help you. So as much as you can, keep us in the loop. Okay. So moving on, yes.
Just to clarify that PD course requirement, there is a PD course that's targeted towards grad students, but it's not a requirement for grad students. It's optional, so that's why that's on there. Unlike undergraduate students, there is not currently a PD course requirement for grad students during their work term. And so that's whether you're computer science or computational math, there's not a PD course requirement during your work term. So just to clarify.
Okay.
There is a course that's available. Optionally, should you wish to take it, called PD 601, I think.
Yep. Okay.
And that is going to be revamped over the coming years to be a little bit more applicable to grad students.
Perfect. Yes. Thanks, Jeremy. So not totally wrong. So optional, not mandatory. Thank you. Okay. So moving now into Waterloo Works for looking for co-op. This is the drop-down that we looked at earlier. Instead of selecting the other option, you're going to choose Hire Waterloo Co-op. Okay? So here, before you can actually see jobs, we are going to ask you two things, which you will get prompted through your Waterloo Works account. And one is to accept terms and conditions. So basically, you're agreeing to many of those things that you saw on the slide of what we expect from you as job seekers. And then, of course, or not of course, but then we will ask you to submit your intentions. So basically, what that means is we want to know if you're planning on looking for work through the Waterloo Works system, or even if you're in the Waterloo Works co-op system, if you have your own opportunity and you want to arrange your own job outside of that system, you can let us know through submitting your intentions. Yeah?
And just for the computer science students, and those that don't know me, I'm Jeremy.
Yes.
Faculty Relations Manager in co-op that's working with computer science this term. The reason why this material will still be important to you is your department still expects the same ethical behavior from students participating in the process. So while you don't have to go through and sign these agreements, all the things that Carly will be mentioning to you about expectations with how you engage in employers and honoring commitments and those types of things rather than any complaints or concerns coming to cooperative education for computer science students, those go to your associate chair of grad studies, who will address the situations with you directly. So the same expectations are there, so this information is important for you. It's just not the same process that would be followed for how they're addressed. So you do want to pay attention. I'm looking at Denise and she's nodding at the back here, so be sure you're paying attention to these slides as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy. And that's, I mean, further to that, like Jeremy was saying, addressing with the undergrad chair with your department, there's going to be some components, so going through with the co-op side of things where you're applying, employers are posting there, you're dealing with or interacting with employers through the system. For those of you in computer science, much of that will happen, most of that will happen outside of the system, so through your department. So one of the big ones is the tax form that oftentimes employers want to access and can access through Waterloo Works. For those of you who in CS who are outside of the system, you will have to go through with that process offline. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so keep that in mind. And it's important also, I think, to note that some of our employers may not be crystal clear on the difference. So there may be some questions. So for those of you going through co-op, through the Waterloo Works system. Otherwise, for employers that you're arranging jobs or looking for them through Waterloo Works, the other job board, there are some differences. So be sure to connect with the right people for those of you in CS. Okay, so moving on from this, I mentioned this word called dashboard. So this is what it looks like. Of course, it's going to actually say your name on the top. But this is where your homepage is going to be for using Waterloo Works, how you can access all the components of it. The Work Term Support Person, or WTS, you'll see their name and phone number listed right up there under the Service Team box. So remembering that's the person that you'll get in touch with while you're on your work term. And for now, those of you who will be going through the specific co-op process, we'll see career advisors. And I mentioned that team of career advisors. You'll have our phone number, and you'll be able to get in touch with us that way. But there's also, maybe in a couple slides, but I'll point it out now, there's an option to send a message, one of the blue buttons at the top there, and I'll go into more detail about that in a moment. Okay? So jumping back to now when you're going into the co-op job search, looks fairly similar. There are some differences. You can keyword search, location search, advanced search, that's all the same. There are some different options under the quick search category, but fundamentally the same in there. You can also save your search parameters in the My Saved Searches. And you can also, you have a few more list management options as what the category is called, but you can manage your not interested list. So if there's jobs that you're just not interested in seeing, you can turn those off. I would suggest keeping, like we went back to going back to an earlier point, keeping an open mind and a broad view on what you're looking at applying to. So without turning too many of those things on, you'll get to see everything that's available and you can sort through on your own. Okay. So I mentioned this send a message. So there's one difference to keep in mind. So the functionality is a bit different in Waterloo Works if you want to send a message while you're, before your first work term, and that's going to be through that blue button at the top of your Waterloo Works dashboard. Told you it would say career advisors, our phone number is there. But if you actually go into the send a message function, you're going to see some options and you want to choose from the first category there, to my advisor. So this will come to us, we'll see your message, and we'll be able to respond to you accordingly. So this is where you can ask any questions you'd like to know about navigating Waterloo Works, the process, if something's not looking right. But remember, the technical questions would go to the Waterloo Works help desk. We would ask, just for the sake of efficiency, that's the best person or people for it to go to. Okay. So while you're on a work term, it's going to just look slightly different. So when you want to send a message to the advisor, the student advisor, while you're on your work term, you're going to navigate to your dashboard. Remember where we saw this person listed? once you're actually matched with a job, you're going to see this box pop up with all the details of the position, where you're working in that. But what's important here is that's where you're going to send a message to that advisor. So important thing to keep in mind, really just for the sake of your time, because if you send it using the blue button, the send a message, it's going to come to us and we're going to redirect it to that person. So that's the quickest way to get an answer while you're on a work term. Okay? So further from that, support-wise, just wanted to mention that for those of you in the co-op specific program, we have co-op consults that exist at the Center for Career Action for any of these questions if you prefer to speak with someone in person. Many of the questions I went over, navigating the process, how to use Waterloo Works, arranging your own job rankings, any of those things you're curious about, you can come and see us. We're there Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4. And you can either see us in the Tatum Center, we're at 1214, or you can have a consult over the phone as well. So that is the same number you'll notice as was listed on the Career Advisors Work Term Support section, and that's how you'll get a hold of us by phone for any co-op specific questions. Okay? So that brings me to the end of the slides.